Oolong teas come in all shapes and sizes, but this one here is truly unique. This is an oolong tea produced in Malawi, and as you'll see in the video, it has a very unique flavor to it. Oolong tea is partially oxidized, making it somewhere in between a green tea and a black tea. In this video, we're going to dive into the world of oolong tea by exploring a new one. Let's get started. Okay, so what we have here is a very interestingly shaped oolong. So this one is actually from Malawi as well. You may recall a couple days ago we did a review of a post-fermented tea from Malawi. So it's very typical to get black teas from Africa, but it's actually quite rare to have an oolong or a post-fermented or a white tea from Africa. So this actually makes it pretty unique. So this one is coming from Mount Moulange, or the area around it. There are two major growing regions in Malawi. The first is Cholo and the second is Moulange, where Mount Moulange is. So the first tea we had, the post-fermented tea, was from Cholo, and this one is from the other growing region of Moulange. So this oolong is unique because of the shape of the leaves. Normally you have either a ball-rolled oolong or a strip-shaped oolong. This, I guess, would be almost like a combination of the two. You'll see it's rolled into these almost like spear shapes, I guess. So it's very interesting. I guess just looking at this one in particular, what they probably did is they took the largest stem and they kind of rolled, wrapped around, rolled the tea around here. I'm going to go ahead and taste this tea now, and I think the leaf shape is cool. It makes it very unique, but what is really unique about this tea is actually its taste. So you see the color is a little bit darker, a little bit on the darker side. This is probably a medium oxidized oolong, so not quite a jade oolong, not quite an amber oolong, somewhere in the middle. I'm going to go ahead and take a sniff of the aroma. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but this is what surprised me about this tea, is how fruity the aroma of it was. Let me go ahead and check the leaves. The aroma of the leaves, the wet leaves, and coming off of the cup are actually very different. Here, I'm getting this very kind of peachy, fruity aroma, and here it's actually almost like seaweed, actually, a little bit of soy sauce, if you can believe it. So very unusual, but that's just what I'm getting from the wet leaves. Go ahead and take a sip of the tea. Okay, now I can tell you what really surprises me about this tea. So this tastes very, very similar to a white tea. So some other like larger leaf white teas I've had in the past. I think it's like the Paimudan, so like made from older tea leaves, not the buddy Yingen picking. And typically with these kind of more full-bodied white teas made from the older tea leaves, I get this kind of peachy flavor, which is really nice. So this is what I'm getting here, which is quite rare in an oolong. Normally you get it in a white tea. So this makes this very unique for its category. So I get a little bit of peach. I get a little bit of this kind of apple sourness, a little hint of strawberry almost, I would say. So one really unique tasting characteristic that I'm getting is birch root, actually. It kind of has this fresh, almost like a little bit minty. I don't know if you've had like something birch root before. I think it used to be what they used for root beer, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of this, yeah, it's got a little bit of this kind of root beer flavor to it, which is quite unusual. Very, very interesting. But this is a really good oolong. I'm really enjoying it so far, but very unique. Definitely shares more taste characteristics with a white tea than an oolong, I would say. Okay, so here we have the second brewing of the tea. See how it compares to the first. Already from a color standpoint, it's much lighter. We'll see if that translates into a lighter taste. Okay, it's getting a little bit more cooked. So it's like instead of like fresh or dried peaches in the first steeping, now we have kind of like cooked peaches, maybe a tiny bit of cinnamon as well. I think that birch note is beginning to disappear a little bit. I'm getting it really strongly in the first brewing. But in the second brewing, you can still get it, but it's fading out a little bit. And if I would have to name a mouth sensation, I would say it's very cooling. It kind of has this cooling sensation as it coats the tongue. So it's almost like Sometimes I describe a tea as having that kind of menthol cooling sensation. Here it's not quite that powerful, but it is noticeable. I would say it's getting a little bit sour, so more sour in the second brewing. In this first brewing, I was getting kind of almost like this applesauce, so like a slightly sweeter um, apple flavor, and then here it's getting more of like a sour apple. So it's kind of got this sour apple finish to it, which is still nice, but it's just a little bit more sour. First brewing of this tea, this Oolong from Malawi, beautiful Oolong tea. First brewing is more in the kind of dried peaches, more in that birch root, and it kind of has like a sweet applesauce finish to it. The second brewing is going to be a little bit more sour, a little bit less of this birch root, and the peach notes are actually getting cooked down, so they're kind of like a peach compote with like a little bit of cinnamon or something like that. So very delicious, but very different from the first brewing. So definitely a tea worth checking out. This is a Oolong tea from Mount Moulange, and it's very unique because it tastes similar to a white tea. If you've had a lot of white teas in the past, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. It's got kind of that peachy flavor that you would get with like a Pai Mudan or something like that. Definitely worth trying at some point if you can. So thank you guys so much for joining us on this tasting. As I'm kind of learning things as I go along, I'm straying outside my comfort zone of Japanese green teas. If you would prefer to learn about Japanese green teas, we have hundreds of videos where we travel around Japan, meeting with tea farmers, sourcing teas, and learning basically everything there is to know about Japanese green tea and where to find it. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would really help us out. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. But until then, we'll see you next time.